Hello, men, women, gentlemen, gentlewomen. Um, I guess it's time for me to do another chapter reading of I Dream of Twilight Sparkle. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing my glasses at the moment because I kind of sort of lost them. Hopefully I find them soon. I think I left them at school. I'm not entirely sure that's the last time I remember using them. Uh, Which really sucks because glasses are really expensive. Jeez, I gotta stop touching the mic on accident. Alright. Well, we're almost a minute into this, so we should probably get started. This is a decent length chapter. It's over 4,000 words. The next few days in Saddle Arabia were quite nice. Twilight and Spike enjoyed many things while they were in the grand city. The hot sand beneath their hooves, feet in Spike's case, was nothing compared to everything else that they saw. Twilight spent much of her time enjoying some of the books she bought from Kabuya's library. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but whatever. While Spike usually engorged himself with the gemstones native to the city. Other than that, they went and visited many other buildings and shops. The market there had food that was exclusive to this area, so Twilight and Spike got to try a few new foods, and they were pretty good. Another area they found was a fortune-telling hut where they had fortunes told to them. It was a bit bizarre, but also a bit fun. Another hut had various pottery shelves with fancy designs and shapes. Twilight found them particularly nice and decorative, and it gave the place a unique flair she hadn't seen many times before. One particular morning, however, had much in store for the lavender unicorn mare. That's a mouthful. Back in the hotel room, Twilight woke up with a yawn and a stretch. The feeling in her back was less than comfortable due to the small size of the bed and the fact that she had to share it. She turned her head to see Spike resting peacefully next to her and smiled at the sight. She rose out of the bed, being careful not to wake up the sleeping dragon. Spike sure was a heavy sleeper, though considering his age, it was not much of a surprise. She looked out the window to see the bright morning sun rising over the horizon. A bit early in the morning. Didn't realize I'd wake up at this time anytime soon, especially considering how I've been sleeping the past few days, she said to herself. She looked back to the bed, again to Spike, as if he was the cause of her problems. No matter, a good walk out in the city to stretch out my hooves should do some good. She turned back to her saddlebags, only for a thought to occur in her head before giving it an odd look. I don't really need to bring this stuff, do I? Perhaps not. I'll come back for it later around the time Spike should wake up. She turned to the door and opened it with her magic. After she stepped out, she glanced at Spike one last time before she left. She smiled to herself as she trotted down the hallway. The interior of the hotel itself wasn't overall fancy, but it was something still amazing to the Lavender Unicorn, given the unique and impressive style that Saddle Arabians had. As soon as she came outside, she breathed in the nice, fresh, early morning air through her nostrils. I wish it was fresh air right here, man. With all that construction outside that's been happening lately, I haven't gotten fresh morning air around my house. It's been at school, but enough of that. Fresh early morning air through her nostrils and exhaled it out in a relaxing manner. If there was anything she liked, it was stepping outside to catch the early rise of Celestia's sun, spreading its sunlight all over Ponyville. She wasn't in Ponyville anymore, but it didn't matter that much to her when it was this nice out there. First thing she decided to tackle, visit Kabuya's library. As she trotted cheerfully through the market district of Saddle Arabia, she noted a few ponies were already waiting at the stands, with a couple that waited for the other sales ponies to arrive. She didn't really expect any pony else to be up this early like she was doing. It made them all the more interesting to her. After the tour from the guide, Twilight got around to memorizing most of the city fairly quickly, just as she had done with Canterlot when she was a filly. No longer did she need some pony to point out the direction for a certain building whenever she decided to go there, as her memory proved to be something spectacular. Over the past few days, learning the turns everywhere was nothing to the smart unicorn. She finally made her way to the library, and when she stepped inside, she was greeted by none other than the librarian herself. "Greetings, Twilight Sparkle of Ponyville. Good morning to you too, Kabuya, although you can just call me Twilight." Kabuya smiled as she departed from her desk and wailed towards Twilight. "Are you here to retrieve more books, or perhaps to return some? Actually, if you don't mind, I would like to hang out here for a little while. At least until Spike wakes up from his sleep. Ah, yes, the baby dragon." Kabuya raised a hoof to her chin and thought. "I was hoping to see him as well. I had a few books he would probably be interested in reading." Twilight didn't think that was something that was true, given that she had known Spike all of his life. "I'm not sure if Spike would be interested in reading. He doesn't do it that much at home back in Ponyville, even when I try to convince him to do more reading." "Then maybe you would like to hear what the books are about first. One of them illustrates and explains about various gemstones around the world, and another tells things that are known by ponies about some of the history of dragons." Twilight beamed at the subjects of the books she heard. She didn't think books like those existed, not after reading nearly every single book in her library. Those are just perfect. "But I think I'll wait to get Spike first. For now, I'd like to hang out here for a few minutes." "Well, there's not really anything to do here in this library besides read books, especially since it is empty at this time. I just opened it about 5 minutes ago." Kabuya picked up two books from her desk and walked over to one of the bookshelves. Twilight followed behind her in close proximity. "We could just talk. I'd really like to get to know you more since, well, I haven't met any other librarians besides myself. I'd also like to know from your perspective what every pony around Saddle Arabia likes to do." While the busy librarian was putting one of the books in its proper place in one of the bookshelves, a smile formed on her face at the thought. "That sounds like an excellent idea." And so they talked, though it was a simple chat. Though saying it was a simple chat was an understatement. Their conversation lasted for hours, talking about many of the various things to experience in Saddle Arabia, including its culture, its history, about the ponies that inhabit it, the general atmosphere, the weather, the shops, what makes it unique compared to other cities, basically everything. As they talked and the hours went by, a few roaming ponies entered the library, reading through books, checking them out whenever Kabuya had to take a break from her conversation with Twilight. While the unicorn had other things to do, she generally didn't mind talking with a simple mare as nice as Kabuya for a few more minutes. It eventually got to the point where Twilight thought Spike would be awake after all that time. "You know, as much as I like talking more about Saddle Arabia and everything you know about it, I think it's time I should go. I have other things to do, and Spike should be waking up soon. I don't want him freaking out about anything if he sees that I'm not there, or I'm worried that he might secretly take my bag of bits and go off and buy himself some more of those gems." "It's all right, Twilight. I understand. I shall be busy myself, as I made a mental note to return a couple of the returned books to their rightful places on the shelves." "Oh, I could help with that. I have a knack of being very organizable." "Oh, really? Are you sure you are not referring to me here?" Kabuya gave off a playful smile, which Twilight noticed almost immediately. "You too? I wonder which one of us is more organizable." They both stared at each other for a few seconds with raised eyebrows before breaking into simultaneous laughter. This went on for a few more seconds before Twilight finally calmed down. "Well, I should get going now. I'll stop by later when I have the time." "Very well, Twilight. I shall see you in some time then." Kabuya waved off Twilight as she left the library, with a bright smile on her lips. She felt like she had gotten 10% smarter after that morning. But now was the time to head back to the hotel for Spike. Along the way, She noticed more of the saddle Arabians out and about in the market than before, given that it was a few hours later since Twilight had first entered the library. It made sense. The hotel was to the west of the library with the market in between, while the entrance to the city was south of the market, where Twilight and Spike arrived via a hot air balloon. Twilight had a smile on her face while she was trotting through the market, and she knew that she was going to enjoy the day like she had done the days before. However, she was startled by some pony poking her backside. She jumped a little before turning around to see who had supposedly gotten her attention. She saw a beige stallion with grizzly dark brown hair. He had a small goatee hanging from his chin. He looked a bit mysterious, but then again, he looked like almost any other saddle Arabian stallion. He spoke in a rather gruff tone. "Greetings, miss. I suppose you are a visitor here in our city, Saddle Arabia?" Now, he didn't seem so mysterious to the unicorn. In fact, he seemed nice. "Why, yes. I got here after taking a 2-day trip from here in a hot air balloon." "Ah, I imagine it was quite a long trip. Were you lonesome for the entire time?" "Oh, no. In fact, I was going to bring 5 of my friends back from Ponyville, but it seems I don't have available accommodations for them to come. I was the only one. The only one I chose to bring with me is my number one assistant, Spike." The stallion raised an eyebrow at the statement. Something wasn't quite right with it. "Spike? That's a peculiar name for a colt." Twilight giggled in response. "Oh no, he's not a colt." "Well, it seems even more odd to be a filly's name." "He's not a filly either. In fact, he's not even a pony. He's a dragon." The stallion had now been staring at Twilight with disbelief. He thought there was no way a pony like her could house a dragon. "That's quite surprising. I do wonder how you were able to fit a big dragon inside your hot air balloon." She then shook her head. "Oh, he's not that big of a dragon. He's a baby dragon. He's about half the size of an average pony. He wishes he were bigger, though he doesn't complain about his current size. Being a dragon, he won't have to worry about it. The long lifespan of dragons will be more than enough to make up for how long it takes for him to age." "Ah, I see. Well, I'm sure whatever the age, he'd love some of our exquisite Saddle Arabian gems. I've seen even full-grown dragons having a hard time resisting the urge to come and grab them. I've read about them. I've even got some of them in the past few days, and I was about to get more for him after I woke up. In fact, I was just about to go back to get him when you got my attention. My apologies, Miss Twilight." "It's all right." Twilight suddenly paused. She took another look at the stallion, now feeling he was a bit more mysterious than before. Something he said gave it away. "Excuse me, but how do you know my name? I never told you." Much to her dismay, the stallion only laughed. Twilight wasn't sure what was so funny about him knowing her name like that. If anything, it made her a bit anxious being around him. He calmed down after a while and spoke to her again. "It's quite simple, really. I know that you're Twilight Sparkle, one of the 6 embodiments of the elements of harmony. And it's not just any element, but the element of magic, making you the indisputable leader and perhaps even the most powerful of them all. I know that you are the Princess Celestia's Princess Celestia's star pupil, and a hero that saved all of Equestria not once, not twice, but 3 times. Actually 4. Nightmare Moon, Discord, and the Queen of Changelings." Now, Twilight was impressed to hear that some pony from faraway city knew of her past accomplishments. That didn't mean her suspicions were all clear just yet. "How do you know all this? Before I came here, I was told barely anyone in Saddle Arabia really knew what went on in Ponyville and Canterlot the past few years." "Word gets around to some ponies more than you know, Twilight Sparkle. It's just not a national policy to give the elements of harmony a hero's welcome whenever they take a vacation somewhere." Now, that last statement was something Twilight definitely agreed on. Perhaps that's for the best. Poor Fluttershy couldn't handle all that attention, especially after her time as a model. And to be honest, I'd prefer to just go through my normal day without someone going, "Look, every pony, it's Twilight Sparkle, a national hero." I always did wonder about that. The stallion laughed at her apparent sense for humor. It was as if he hadn't heard something so funny in a long time. Now, how about I introduce myself to you? You know, since I know all about you and you probably don't know anything about me. Of course not, but could we step inside somewhere? Standing out here in the sun is making me hot. Twilight waved a hoof in front of her face, as if to pretend she was fanning herself. The stallion noticed this and turned to his left, pointing a hoof towards a hut directly near them. Of course, please. I insist that you step inside my hut so that we shall not get sunburned from the sunlight's heat pouring down upon us. Twilight obliged happily and made her way inside, with him following closely behind. The floor, walls, ceilings were made of finely flattened clay, and around the hut were plenty of expensive looking assortments of Saddle Arabian furniture, attire, and the finest pottery any pony could see in all of Equestria. The stallion could have made a more traditional hut, but it was obvious he wasn't exactly poor. She turned to face him, but cleared her throat before she came to speak. Now then, may I ask you to... May I ask that you introduce yourself? I do owe you an introduction. My name is... Let's hope I get this right. My name is Malakar Manat, a renowned pottery maker here in Saddle Arabia. As such, my business is pottery and Arabian bottle making. A lot of the assortment of vases, bottles, and lamps, and more are all of my custom creations. If Twilight wasn't surprised before, she was now ecstatic about what she saw. Wow, you made all those yourself? These are some of the best pottery I've ever seen. How much do they usually sell for? Many a pony seeks some of my designs. I've been sent orders from all across Equestria. Some of my vases and bottles have been in such high demand that some of the richest in Equestria have given away their own priceless items just to get a hold of some of my creations. That's where I got the rest of my memorabilia that you see. In fact, this rug here that our hooves are standing upon was given to me by a quite well-known gentle colt named Fancy Pants. If there wasn't anything if there was anything the Lavender Mare knew, it was a few things about who was probably the most well-known stallion in Canterlot. Oh, I know Fancy Pants. I've seen him when I went to Canterlot for my birthday, and he was at the wedding for my brother and Princess Cadence. He's a high-class stallion to even the other high-class ponies in Canterlot. I figured that after Fancy Pants ordered something of yours, it wasn't long much until Canterlot also much of Canterlot also bought your products. Malakar chuckled once again, but wasn't going to hold himself that high. Yes, business really did seem to pick up when he ordered some of my pottery, so that makes sense. Twilight nodded in response. She was starting to feel more comfortable around the stallion, though she wouldn't have been prepared for the events that followed. It's been a really nice pleasure talking with you, Twilight Sparkle. I shall now present to you a gift that I had wanted to give for you a long time. I saved it for whenever you came to Saddle Arabia, even if you never ended up coming here. I am quite proud of this work and wouldn't have sold it for 1,000,000 bits. It's not because this thing is just that priceless. There is a special property about it that might interest you, as you are the element of magic. Oh, and that is Twilight Sparkle. How would you like to be even more stronger magic than you currently are? Oh, oh, so plot develops. Okay, let's see what happens. Twilight's eyes widened as she took a step back. She knew there was no way just any pony could increase her magical power past how they already are now. Whoa, what? Is something the matter? No, nothing's wrong actually. It's just, how do you have something in your possession that can possibly make a pony stronger in magic than they already are? Oh, you'll see in due time, but allow me to fetch what it is I'm talking about. The stallion turned away from Twilight and left into a back room. When he returned, in his mouth was a purple, translucent bottle, decorated with glitter with similar colors as Twilight's tricolored mane and tail. On the two sides were gem-encrusted engravings of Twilight's cutie mark. Like a normal Arabian bottle, it was round on the bottom, and on the way to the top was a removable lid, which similarly was as translucent and purple as the rest of the bottle. Twilight was wowed by the design, but noticed that the bottle was empty. Wait, I love how it looks and all, but it looks empty. How is an empty bottle supposed to make me any stronger in magic, just instantly out of the blue? Don't underestimate it only because it appears like nothing is worthwhile inside it. Right now, I just want you to focus on whenever or not you want it yourself. If you accept, you may either take it home with you and give the boost to your magic back home in Ponyville, or you can open it now to get it over with. No matter what Malakar said, Twilight was still unsure about how a bottle could contain a power that could enhance her magic. I don't know, Malakar. This just seems so crazy. But if I accept, what's the cost of this bottle? It's absolutely free of charge, as your deeds in the past are more than enough to reap the benefits. Do you accept my offer? If you decline, I'll simply put the bottle back in the back room and you may go on your way. The curious mayor looked at the bottle again. It did look nice, and if it proved to be false, in that it could really improve her magic, it would at least make any room look nicer. Oh, well, since you're offering for free and all, I'll accept it. What's the harm? It's really beautiful, and if it does what you say it does, I'll be both much stronger at magic and have a nice decoration back home. Splendid! I am happy one of my finest works is going to some pony like you. Malakar gave her a wide grin, happy that one of his works was going to some pony so famous. At least it was his opinion that Twilight was famous. Soon this bottle will be more important to you than you realize, besides a simple decoration. Then Twilight raised an eyebrow. What do you mean by that? Malakar shifted his eyes a bit. Oh, nothing really, but now that you accepted it, like I said, you have the choice of either taking it home with you so you can power it up at home, or you can do it right now on the spot, as soon as now or late as when you get back. You will henceforth enjoy a kind of magic power that no pony has seen in millenniums. I somehow doubt that. What you're saying is that with this bottle, I'll suddenly gain powers that could even match with the powers of the princess? Twilight shook her head in disbelief before going on. I'll still give this a try, but if it does work, all I imagine will happen is that I will be able to do more than advanced spells more frequently with less risk of tiring. Oh, trust me, you'll get plenty more than that. All you have to do is simply open the bottle and you'll get what I'm talking about. No other place in Saddle Arabia can provide you this. Now decide, Twilight Sparkle. Do you open it now or take it home? Assuming this works, it won't be painful, will it? Twilight had a tinge of worry in her voice, which was reassured by Malakar almost immediately. No, it should be generally relaxing. No pain will come out of it, but you will feel a sort of force on you. Well then, I'll just open it now, I suppose. Good! Good! Now stand over there so you have more space. He pointed over toward the middle of the rather small hut. Twilight walked over to it and examined the bottle for a few more seconds as she prepared herself to open it. Well, here goes nothing. As her horn glowed, Twilight levitated the bottle in front of her and used the telekinesis to remove the top of the bottle. Twilight shook in apprehension as she prepared for whatever force Malakar mentioned. After about 30 seconds or so, nothing really happened. Even Malakar suddenly felt worried that it wouldn't work, scowled at the result. Twilight waited for a few more seconds, but she didn't feel anything. She turned around to face Malakar again. I should have figured this was a waste of time. I'm sorry, Malakar, but before she could say any more, she felt a small tug coming from behind her. Her eyes widened at what she saw. Twilight's tail was suddenly doing strange things. It was moving in sort of a wavy motion up and down, and it wasn't Twilight making it move. As seconds passed, it continued going in a waving pattern, but it was doing more than imitating Princess Celestia's free-flowing mane. The tail was extending. Huh? What's going on with my tail? Twilight didn't have a clue as to why her tail was acting this way. She tried to move it herself, but it was like her tail had a mind of its own. She started walking for a little while until she was at the edge of the room, but suddenly felt a bigger tug than before. Ah! Something's pulling me! When she looked back at her rapidly extending and waving tail, she saw that the end of it was now connected to Malakar's bottle. Yet more and more of her tail was being pulled and being somehow sucked into the bottle. What is this bottle doing, Malakar? Is this part of the process? She turned back to him with a scared expression, but it was also what also surprised her, other than what the bottle was doing to her, was what Malakar was doing. He was laughing at what he was seeing. It works! It actually works! Oh my god, I think I just spit. Okay. By now, about half of Twilight's extended tail was already in the bottle. She had a look of fear in her eyes. What are you talking about? What works? Suddenly, Twilight started inexplicably floating. Gah! She flailed her hooves as she floated. Her hind hooves were suddenly stretching to the bottle as well. She looked in shock as her body from the flank down was being shaped and shrunk the closer it got to the open bottle. Everything right down to her cutie mark was nothing but a curvy smoke tail, and it was all ever so slowly heading inside the bottle. Twilight knew what was happening. She was being forcibly stuck inside the bottle. She turned again to face the Salient, but this time with a glare. Malakar, stop this! If this is what it takes to get stronger in magic, I don't want it. I'm afraid it's far too late for that, Miss Twilight. As soon as the bottle opened, it can't be stopped, and the pony that opened it will be engulfed inside. You won't get away with this! Ah! She yelled until she was tugged strongly again. Almost to her front hooves and neck now, she was being funneled inside the bottle. She flailed her forehooves and moved her head from side to side in desperation. Her neck and hooves were gradually being sucked into the bottle in no time. As the rest of her body, including her head, was finished being completely bottled, she yelled a big "No!" that became lower in volume until it went silent when the last of her body disappeared in the bottle, which was her horn. With Twilight now completely bottled, the bottle fell to the floor, and the bottle top magically returned to its spot on top, now sealed now the now imprisoned unicorn completely inside. Before, it was clear. Now inside was a glowing purple mist. Malakar smiled in glee and walked up to the bottle that was no longer empty. Don't worry, Twilight Sparkle. No harm will come out of this. I assure you. And that was I Dream of Twilight Sparkle, Chapter 3 by Son Alice. So far, I'm really enjoying this. He's doing a great job. Man, this video is going to be like 30 minutes long, though. Whew! That's going to take a while to render. Alright, I'm going to end this. Hopefully I found my glasses, and hope you look forward to the next reading. So yeah, so long.